Now it's time for your 420 Radio News for Wednesday, August 7th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. U.S. Drug Agency Surveillance Unit to be investigated by the Department of Justice. This from TheGuardian.com. The U.S. Department of Justice has launched an investigation into revelations that the Drug Enforcement Agency uses surveillance tactics, including wiretapping and massive databases of telephone records, to arrest Americans amid growing concerns from lawyers and civil rights groups over its lack of transparency. Reuters on Monday detailed how the Special Operative Division, a unit within the DEA comprising representatives of 24 agencies, including the FBI, CIA, NSA, Internal Revenue Service, and Department of Homeland Security, passes tips from wiretaps, informants, and a database of telephone records to field agents to investigate and arrest criminals. Reuters reports that, although such cases rarely involve national security issues, the DEA agents using the tips are trained to recreate the source of the criminal investigation to conceal its true origin from defense lawyers, prosecutors, and judges. The revelations, which follow the Guardian's recent disclosures of the National Security Agency's wholesale collection of U.S. phone data, have raised concerns among judges, prosecutors, and civil rights lawyers over a lack of transparency. Many said the SOD practice violates a defendant's constitutional right to a fair trial. Michigan Medical Marijuana Panel looks to add PTSD to law, but rejects autism and other conditions. From MLive.com. A state panel appointed to review Michigan's medical marijuana law gave preliminary approval on Tuesday to a citizen petition seeking to add post-traumatic stress disorder to the list of debilitating conditions that can qualify a patient for participation in the program. The Michigan Marijuana Act Review Panel, in a 7-2 vote, recommended adding PTSD to the list. The head of the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs will have final say on whether to add PTSD to the list of debilitating conditions. In a series of separate votes, the panel rejected petitions seeking to add insomnia, asthma, and autism to the list of debilitating conditions under the law. The insomnia vote was preliminary, meaning it will also be subject to a public hearing following another vote. The asthma and autism votes, however, were considered final because the previous iteration of the panel had already considered the petitions and the Michigan had organized public meetings. Uruguay to sell legal marijuana at a low price of $2.50 per gram to compete with black market. From HuffingtonPost.com. Uruguay's lower house passed an unprecedented bill last week that legalizes marijuana and regulates the production, distribution, and sale of weed for adult consumers. El País now reports via Univision that the bill fixes the price of marijuana at around $2.50 per gram. The bill is up for vote in the Senate, where it is expected to be passed and finally signed into law by President Jose Mujica, a longtime supporter of drug reform. What sets Uruguay's bill apart is that it provides for government control over the entire marijuana industry, from cultivation to consumption. Individual citizens, cooperatives, and private companies can grow a specified amount of weed each month, though it may only be sold to customers by state-run pharmacies. Purchasers will have to register with the state and be limited to 40 grams per month. While Insight Crime reports that the current cost of pot varies by region and can reach up to about $5 per gram, Julio Calzada, Uruguay's drug czar, told El País that the proposed fixed price of $2.50 per gram is on par with the going underground rates. The hope being that the competitive pricing will attract users to the legal market without providing a profit incentive for resale in the black market. Marijuana legalization, while U.S. Latinos are not Latin Americans. From FoxNews.com, or from, WLRN.org. According to a recent Pew Research Center survey, 51% of U.S. Latinos now support legalizing marijuana, about the same majority, 52%, of Americans as a whole. In Colorado last November, Latino voters may have been the deciding factor in the passage of that state's marijuana legalization ballot measure. 70% of them backed it, according to exit polls. In a recent poll that showed 7 in 10 Floridians favor legalizing at least medical marijuana, Latinos were cited as one of the groups most likely to give such a measure the thumbs up. Latinos are disappointing social conservatives on the expectation that Latino families would rise up against legalizing marijuana. If last year's Colorado referendum is any gauge, Latinos seem to increasingly agree with the idea behind Uruguay's unprecedented federal measure. This has been your 420 Radio News for Wednesday, August 7th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines to take a look at the departure of U.S. drug czar Gil Kurlikowski for Customs and Border Protection and some of his greatest hits, a.k.a. the dumbest things he said about marijuana in his term as drug czar. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously